It is my pleasure to introduce the next speaker, or rather the keynote speaker, Charlotte Hallengren, who is in charge of the directorate that oversees NATO operations and development of plans. I hope that is a succinct summary. And she is also, as I've learned over the years, a convinced champion of the role of gendarmeries within the alliance. And not least for that reason, it's my pleasure to give you the floor. And we look forward to hearing your views on where we can take this from here.
Thank you very much, Elizabeth. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, it is a great honor to be here to celebrate the 10th anniversary of the NATO Stability Policing Center of Excellence. Let me express my sincere gratitude for the invitation and for the outstanding hospitality of our hosts in this beautiful setting. Taking the floor today marks the second time that I've had the opportunity to contribute to a much-needed conversation on the essential role of stability policing. A year ago, I attended the Diamond event organized by the Center of Excellence in Vicenza on stability policing within the NATO context, rethinking the paradigm to address future security challenges. This was a real eye-opener for me as the Director for Operations, especially on the indispensable policing element in operations. It also exposed me for the first time to an audience composed mostly of members of the gendarmerie-type forces. And these two pillars, stability policing and gendarmerie-type forces, are those I want to discuss with you in some greater depth today. Let me start with stability policing. Most of you in the audience today are already familiar with the concept, but allow me to stress it once more. One of the clearest lessons from 2 decades of crisis management is that no operation succeeds without a policing capability that can operate in dangerous and uncertain environments and complement the work of the military. Military forces bring security, but cannot enforce domestic law. Civilian police bring law enforcement, but cannot deploy early or safely. Stability policing bridges this well-known public security gap, integrating in military operations police capabilities that can assist or replace existing host nation capabilities. The importance of stability policing forces and units has been proven over and over again in more than 2 decades of NATO operations and missions, starting with the brilliant intermission of the Carabinieri in 1998 to create a multinational specialized unit in support of NATO S4 operations in Bosnia and Herzegovina. Stability policing units have proven their value and relevance in the different fields in which NATO has been deployed. And as NATO priorities have shifted and evolved, so the possible use of stability policing units has as well, both from what were called out-of-area and expeditionary deployments. Stability policing is showing its continued relevance, also in an alliance that has, by necessity, refocused on collective defense Article 5 tasks. This is especially true in a hybrid warfare context, such as the one that we're increasingly experiencing today, which even in peacetime, our governments and forces are exposed to acts of sabotage, drone incursions, and the like. While responding to such acts alone would normally belong to domestic law enforcement, when conducted by malign state actors, these actions require a broader response. Sorry, I'm struggling between glasses and no glasses. I'm going to try to put these back so I can make this as good as it needs to be. Bringing into play close cooperation between civilian police, armed forces, and the in-between space that stability policing occupies. And while stability policing originally focused on, and still rightly takes into account, post-conflict situations, in today's Europe, the police forces that might require assistance or even replacement could well be those of an ally overwhelmed by hostile actions. Indeed, The need for the capabilities that stability policing brings is growing under the collective defense scenarios and within the critical plans that NATO has developed as part of the alliance's extraordinary military adaptation in the last many years. For this reason, allow me to express my most heartfelt support and praise for the work conducted by the Stability Policing Center of Excellence. The NSPCOE has been and remains, for us, a trusted and highly valued partner in developing training for allies and partners, and has been very quick in observing the changes in the broader environment context and redefining how stability policing could best support these changes. This overview of the continued relevance and development in stability policing naturally brings me to the second pillar of my presentation today, and that is the role of gendarmerie-type forces that constitute the core and backbone of stability policing units. These forces stand precisely at the intersection of military robustness and law enforcement capabilities, a combination that has proven its worth time and time again. They bring the ability to integrate in military operations the full spectrum of capabilities of national law enforcement agencies. This is absolutely relevant in domains such as battlefield evidence, countering drones, or the protection of critical infrastructure, where military expertise needs to be complemented by a policing approach and skill set. I do not want to overlook anyone, but allow me to refer specifically to the recent experiences I have had with 3 such forces, which have clearly demonstrated to me the importance and relevance of these forces in a NATO context, and whose operational record illustrates this point brilliantly. First example, the Italian Carabinieri has been at the forefront of stability policing for decades. In Bosnia-Herzegovina and Kosovo, they created and led the multinational specialized unit providing public order management, criminal investigations, and security for international institutions. They trained local police forces in both Iraq and Afghanistan under extremely hostile conditions, building their police and forensic capabilities. They also deployed in Lebanon and the Sahel, and in numerous NATO and UN missions. The concept of the multinational specialized unit developed by the Carabinieri remains one of the most successful examples of how gendarmerie-type forces can stabilize an environment and protect populations at the critical interface between military and civilian security. And this model remains a reference point for effective policing in conflict and post-conflict environments. The Carabinieri's operational record is not simply impressive, it is a blueprint for stability policing. The Spanish Guardia Civil is the second example of gendarmerie capability that I would like to highlight, especially as I visited their armed forces, their special forces unit, just 2 weeks ago, the Unidad de Acción Rural, and what I saw is eye-opening. This unit is an umbrella command of the Spanish Guardia Civil that oversees the force's elite capabilities, providing organization, training, and coordination for specialized intervention groups. It represents the most specialized, deployable, and operationally versatile elements of the Guardia Civil. It integrates the elite rapid action group, the Grupo de Acción Rápida, which possesses decades of counterterrorism experience forged in complex internal security environments. It serves as the primary high-risk intervention unit, trained to respond quickly to terrorist threats, violent organized crime, and critical incidents anywhere in Spain or abroad. And indeed, it was originally intended to counter the terrorist group ETA. And since 1998, it has been reoriented towards international deployments, participating in NATO, UN, and EU missions. It maintains high readiness, allowing rapid deployment into unstable or high-risk areas, both domestically and internationally. The combination of their operational robustness, law enforcement authority, and rapid tactical response capabilities make it one of the most capable specialized gendarmerie units in Europe. The Turkish Jandarma, NATO's largest gendarmerie force, provides another strong example of the operational value of gendarmerie forces. As a gendarmerie-type force, the Jandarma is a police force that was part of the Turkish Armed Forces until 2016, before transitioning under the responsibility of the Ministry of Interior. Despite this structural transition, the Jandarma maintains a strong military attitude and organizational structure, having been consistently deployed in crisis and high-threat areas, counterterrorism and stability policing operations and training across Turkey, Syria, Libya, Azerbaijan, Somalia, and the Balkans. To accomplish its mission, the Turkish Jandarma is equipped with state-of-the-art investigative and policing units, deployed even at local levels. Additionally, it possesses highly valuable capabilities, particularly relevant in crisis deployments, such as attack and transport helicopters, counterterrorism commando units, specialized special operations forces, and most notably, an exceptional arsenal of armed and reconnaissance UAVs across all classes. That's extraordinary. Turkey's geopolitical position between the continents of Europe and Asia, along with the crises and wars that have occurred in the surrounding regions over the past 15 to 20 years, have enabled the Turkish Jandarmerie to gain extensive experience in combating terrorism, managing large-scale irregular migration flows, countering international drug and human trafficking, the use of advanced biometrics, advanced counter-IED experience, and conducting military and law enforcement intelligence operations, and the use of high technology and autonomous systems, among many other hybrid and irregular threats. Those abilities bring lessons learned that are increasingly relevant in modern operations. And I'm keen in the coming months to deepen my understanding of the highly diversified and strategically important capabilities demonstrated by the Gendarme. But while I'm happy to go from ally to hear more about their own gendarmerie capabilities, I am truly wondering why those forces are not more represented in NATO. In addition to the 3 gendarmerie-type forces that I have just mentioned, 5 other allies are known to have gendarmerie-specific forces. France, Portugal, the Netherlands, Romania, and Poland, and others that of course have military police capabilities. And there are other allies, such as Finland, who have forces, the Finnish border guards, that, while not carrying formally the gendarmerie label, possess the typical traits of a gendarmerie force, a law enforcement agency with the ability and mandate to integrate the work of the defense forces in times of crisis or conflict. The examples of Poland and Finland point to a very interesting trend and development. Traditionally, gendarmerie forces have been identified as specific to countries that had inherited French Napoleonic institutions or were located in Southern Europe. But the developments in Poland and Finland show that even countries that come within different historical or institutional legacies recognize the existence of the public security gap and the need to address it. In short, reality has made the case more strongly than doctrine. Modern crises, including on our eastern flank, require security actors with hybrid skills. It is in this world where crises demand rapid deployment, legal authority, and the ability to operate in unstable environments that I am emphasizing the importance and relevance of gendarmerie-type forces in our shared security architecture. We must recognize their value and give them the voice they are currently lacking within the alliance. We frequently underline the need for a comprehensive approach, but to achieve it, we need forces that can genuinely bridge the gap between the military and law enforcement mandates and capabilities. The absence of a dedicated platform to involve gendarmerie-type forces in NATO's work strikes me as the Director for Operations profoundly. Such a platform would give gendarmerie forces the voice and recognition that match their operational values. It would contribute to the ongoing work on stability policing and battlefield evidence, among others, by addressing doctrine, standardization, and interoperability in these fields. It would ensure that gendarmeries are involved in operational planning, sharing their experience on hybrid warfare environments in particular, retrieved from relevant deployments. Force planners often realize late in the process that they need a capability that they did not formally include. This could be solved by giving the gendarmeries a say at the right time. At the same time, those forces fill a capability gap recognized even by countries without gendarmeries. Countries with a strict police-military separation increasingly acknowledge that they need access to intermediate capabilities. Such a platform would therefore allow these countries to benefit from gendarmerie expertise, even if they do not possess such forces. While it could take the form of a working group or a subcommittee, I believe that it is fair to leave this initiative with the allies who possess a gendarmerie-type force, should they be supportive and interested to create this new forum. In my point of view, I'm convinced that it would be a force multiplier for the entire alliance, and for all of us present here today to celebrate the success of the Stability Policing Center of Excellence. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your attention. I hope my remarks will spark thoughts and discussion, which I, of course, would be happy to be a part of during the break at lunch, or at the whenever. And once again, congratulations on this outstanding event, and of course, for 10 years at the Center of Excellence.